financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is, let's work with the tax man. Brian Small, you're not the tax man.
I am not the tax man, and I'm not going to sing a Beatles song either right now.
I'm done with you.
Okay.
Jeffrey,
Done with you.
Good morning, Ken.
What's that from?
No,
Nothing.
that's not. Nothing's from nothing.
That's from a second ago.
Yeah.
What movie?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing. No, it's Good Day, Sir.
Oh. Then he says, I'm done with you?
No, it's just
he
I'm
never
good.
says I'm done with you.
No.
And what movie was that?
That was
Willy
Willy
Wonka.
Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
And what year was that?
Before this year.
It was.
Were you a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory fan?
No.
I bet it was
Gene
probably
Wilder,
in the
you know,
70s.
not
What
that
about
big
you?
of a
It's in the
fan.
70s.
It's okay.
Okay. See, I think I'm too old for that.
I'm feeling like it was 1971.
All right, so, but you are involved in the tax man, because you handle
Yeah.
the tax problems. So you're going to be the man on the spot for a lot of this show.
This spot.
This spot right here.
Yeah.
No.
Jim, good to
This
have you
spot
back.
Right
It's
here.
great to be here,
That's
Ken.
How's
Thanks,
Pat?
bud.
Everything good?
Everyone's healthy and happy.
Jeffrey Kirshner, workers' comp, Social Security disability.
Yes,
Everything good?
everything is great. I'm going to be certain to declare the pennies on my eyes when I die, as the Beatles told you.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I wish we could have the song playing in the background during the show, and maybe the producer can put that in. But you have all these copyright issues that you have to worry about, so we'll leave that to the producers. Working with the tax man. Most people fear the tax man.
I thought most people
Particularly-
fear the Reaper.
Don't fear the Reaper.
It's a different song.
No.
We're talking about the tax man. We're not talking about the Reaper.
Okay.
Okay. Now, why do they fear the tax man?
Well, because they think the tax man's the reaper.
Fine. Unfiled tax returns, and they owe money to the IRS, the taxes. And that causes a tremendous amount of fear. And the typical reaction that we see is what I would call becoming an ostrich. They're burying their head in the sand. And that is the worst thing to do, but it is very easy for it to happen, because what happens is you get into this idea of saying, if I can avoid them and they can't find me, nothing will happen. So if you stick your head in the sand, the theory is they won't be able to see you because they're only looking above the surface. And so what happens then? You continue to not file your returns. But there's a collateral consequence, and that's anxiety. Every single client we've had with a tax problem all tells us and exemplifies the anxiety they've lived with by having the tax problem continue unresolved. And it's losing sleep. Oftentimes you don't even tell your spouse about it, your family doesn't know, your friends don't know, and you're absorbing that constantly internally. And it's not healthy. So now I want to give you the shocking truth, and then we'll get into it. Tax problems are always solvable and never compare to the fear and the anxiety. Now, if you didn't quite get that straight, I'm going to try and give it to you again. Tax problems are always solvable and never compare to the fear and anxiety. Now, I want to emphasize this one more time for you. Tax problems are always solvable and never compare to the fear and the anxiety. Hopefully, you've got that point at this point. But the reason why I'm saying it is such an important point. You need to understand it. These are not, in the context of legal problems that we face for clients, I'm going to just tell you right now, solving tax problems goes on to the easier side of the problems that we solve for people. I believe every problem has a solution, but tax problems are relatively easy to solve, and people, because they act like ostriches, ignore it and live with anxiety they don't need.
Are you telling us we shouldn't fear our government?
Correct. Correct. Well, I can't go that far. You don't have to fear the taxman. You have to fear. You have to fear the government. You have to fear your neighbor on your right and your neighbor on your left. And other than that, you have nothing to worry about. What was the fear? Nothing is worse than fear. Okay. Jim Henson. Simple is good. And tax problems have simple solutions. What's the solution to the unfiled tax return problem?
File them.
Wow, that was quick.
Wow. You got it? You see that? That's the truth. Now, but I can't file them because I don't have the records. I haven't filed a return in 8 years.
You can.
Am I unusual?
No, you're everybody. Yeah, you're most people that we
Well,
have through.
I can guarantee you're not Brian Small.
I can guarantee you, you're not Brian Small.
So,
But a lot of people have the problem.
for wage earners who get W-2s or people who get 1099s, we can get those tax records, because what people forget, and this goes to the negative side that the government can do if you don't, is that the IRS gets a copy of those reports. So your W-2
So
forms
they have all
and your
that
1099
information anyway.
Right, which is why the IRS can sometimes file a return for you even while your head is in the sand.
Which is another reason why this idea of being an ostrich with your head in the sand doesn't mean they're not seeing you, because they get the reports.
It's really important to know this, too. If the IRS files a tax return for you, it's called the substitute for return, that tax is never dischargeable in bankruptcy, ever.
And otherwise it would be.
Right. So if you don't, you owe, it's okay to owe. Just don't not file.
So here's the point. On the unfiled returns, we file them. We get the information from the government as to your income. We estimate your expenses if you don't have the records, and we file them. If the return isn't 100% accurate, that's not going to be the problem. You get the return filed, that problem is solved. Now we'll take a break. We'll talk about the next problem. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So you asked the question during the break. It was a good question.
Yeah, so you threw out an example of the last break about people not filing tax returns. You said 7-8 years. I want to know your experience. What is the average when people come see you with these problems? How long has it been since they haven't filed tax returns?
Most people that we see have not filed returns for many years. In average 7 to 10 years, they'll come in, they haven't filed.
See, what people don't realize is, of all the tax problems we solve for people, and that includes unfiled returns, where the returns are filed and they just owe money and they need to resolve the amount that's owed, audits, those kind of problems, and also payroll tax problems. The most common problem is the unfiled tax returns.
And what are people telling you when they come in? What are you commonly hearing as to why they've had years? What everyone you hear, you've got to file every year.
I don't know about you, Jeff, but I don't really get into that conversation very long because it's understood. They haven't. Once you don't file 1 year, it becomes very easy not to file the next year because of the anxiety factor. And then as soon as you get to 2 years, then you've got the problem with the records and everything else. I usually focus on saying, listen, I understand you probably are losing sleep over this, and you've put yourself through horrendous anxiety, and you're gonna walk out of here and you're gonna be kicking yourself, because I'm telling you right now, this is not that big of a problem.
Right. Essentially, my goal is to put them at ease, because in reality, unless they're committing criminal fraud, the reason they haven't filed isn't material. It's solving the problem that's important.
But for the viewer who's sitting there saying, well, I haven't filed my taxes, the reality is that most people fear owing the government money. And so if they put it off to I'll do them next week. I just got to save up the money to deal with the problem.
They want to win the lotto to have the money and then file the tax returns.
Right, and that's the biggest problem, because there's, as we all know, there's different types of penalties for not filing and not paying. And so there's a not filing penalty and a not paying penalty. And the not filing penalty is pretty darn big.
It's 25%.
But aren't there also criminal ramifications for not filing?
There are.
There are, but
you don't. If you're a non-filer, you don't want the government coming to look for you to the return. You don't want to be visited by 2 agents at your door looking for your returns, because that normally means it's been a criminal referral. But that's not common. I don't want people out there. The commercials you'll see nationally will make you lose more sleep thinking that you're going to be grabbed out of your bed and thrown into a cell because you haven't filed your tax returns. I'm not telling you it's impossible, but I've never seen it happen, okay? The superstar, the sports celebrity, and the actor who makes millions of dollars who hasn't filed his returns, those guys have been prosecuted. The average Joe, it would be very unlikely for that to happen, but it is a possibility, and it's an anxiety factor that you don't need, and they're going to catch up with you. They have your transcripts. They know what your W-2s say. They know what your 1099s say. So you need to address it. Now let's talk about how do we address that? I owe the money. I filed the returns. What do we have? We've got offer and compromise, we got CDP hearings, we got currently not collectible, we got installment payments, you got all these remedies, Jeff.
Yeah.
Let's kind of flush through them. How does the offer and compromise work?
The offer and compromise is what you hear on the news or the TV as the Fresh Start program. And it's the program that allows you to pay less than you actually owe. And it's really just a math formula about what you have, not about what you owe. I can get you the same offer. I can get you to settle your debt for $300 if you owe $20,000 or if you owe $1 million, as long as your finances line up the right way.
So it's about your assets and your income less your expenses. It's not about how much you owe.
Correct.
So it's not a negotiation. If I owe $1 million and I come to you and say, I owe you $1 million, I'll give you $20,000.
No, that's not what it is.
But wait, what if you're the IRS and I know you from high school? Can you then approve it for me?
No.
We were high school buddies.
And I like you, and we'll go get a beer. But I can't do it for you. Why?
You'd never liked me in high school.
You don't know that.
You did. I could tell.
You don't know that.
The point here is it's not a relationship thing, and it's not a negotiation. It's a program based upon formulas. So Jeff, we compute the formula, you come in, if you can qualify for that offer and compromise, it's a great program. It does have one drawback, even if you qualify. What's the drawback?
The drawback is, well, the drawback is you're on a 5-year good boy program where you have to file on time and you have to pay on time, and you can't be a day late or $1 short or all of the debt comes back.
I call it the stay clean rule. It's 5 years where you got to stay clean, and that can be we see that as a big problem because a lot of people that have the problem of owing IRS are self-employed, and they don't have they don't have withholding being paid in, so they run into the problem where they're always paying their taxes behind. Instead of paying their taxes from their current year's income, they're paying their taxes from their next year's income. So 2020 taxes are being paid from 2021 income, and then all of a sudden 2021 becomes a bad year. You don't have the extra money to pay the taxes for the previous year.
But that's why when we look at tax solutions and tax alternatives, one of the things we also look at is bankruptcy, because it may be more appropriate to file a bankruptcy to deal with your tax.
Because you don't have the 5-year rule.
There is no 5-year look back or 5-year carry forward.
Do you have to have your tax returns filed to file bankruptcy?
Yes, you do, actually.
For more than 2 years.
Yep.
And you have to have them filed for these programs too.
So sometimes, good question, Jim, sometimes we have a situation where the client hasn't filed the tax returns and they've got a big tax liability, and we actually have a long-term play where we want to get the returns filed, we want to keep them uncollectible, we want to wait the 2-year period and then file the bankruptcy, because that, in the broad picture, that's the most efficient way of getting rid of the debt, depending on the circumstances. So, and that goes back to where, that's why you don't want the government to prepare the return for you, because that takes away that option.
Substitute for return is never dischargeable in bankruptcy.
All right, so offer and compromise works when you fit within the parameters. If not, we've got to find another alternative. Let's take a break and we'll walk through those other alternatives.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Will I outlive my money?
Medicaid is so confusing.
A will, or do I need a trust?
What if mom needs to go in a nursing home? At Samasco Law, we have the answers to all of these questions. Our attorneys will eliminate the confusion and develop a plan that's right for you. We are dedicated to veterans benefits, assisted living, and nursing home care. Samasco Law can help prepare you for a long future. Call Samasco Law today.
Time for announcements. So I remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. We've got a free webinar anytime you want. Just go online, go to thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, how to eliminate your debt and get a fresh start and live debt-free. To be free, you must be debt-free. The webinar addresses all of the methods we use to eliminate debt so you can preserve your future income for you and your family. The real key is if you get rid of the debt, you are then in a position where you can start living off of your current income and building some savings, which is critical to your future. You want to learn solutions using bankruptcy and solutions outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Also remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. We're back to in-office consultations. If you prefer a Zoom or a telephone conference, we can do that. But you're now welcome to come back to the office and attend a conference in office like the good old days. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat Samasco or Jim Samasco, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal law issues with Scott Weinberg. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, we've got free reports available on the website anytime, resolving tax problems, the real solutions by myself and Jeff Linden, how to save your home from foreclosure, business formations, loans and grants for small businesses in Detroit, and the Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem. All right, so we're back. So, Jim, you raised a couple points at the break.
Sure. If the government files a substitute tax return for you, can't you just amend it and file your own tax return? And then also, how long does it take for the IRS to file a substitute tax return for you?
So first, yes, you can file an amended return, and that could have the effect of lowering your tax debt for that year. But once the government files a substitute for a return, that tax year is never dischargeable in bankruptcy, even after you amend it. It's what the bankruptcy code says, because it doesn't serve a tax purpose when you file a substitute when you file an amended return after a substitute for a return. In terms of when they'll file one for you, we haven't generally seen one filed, usually within about 3 years of when it was due, but you never know, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That's why it's important for you to file the returns, because you never know when that's going to happen and take away a viable option.
Usually about 3 years.
You know, the other question come up, I have a lot of clients come and they say, well, I don't file tax returns, I don't have to, I don't make enough money. What's your opinion on that?
If you have no tax liability, then there's no
obligation.
But if you're wrong and you do have a tax liability and you haven't filed, and then they file the return for you, then you're going to have a 25% penalty for late filing plus the interest and penalty for not paying.
There are many people that are not required to file a tax return because they don't have enough taxable income, but the threshold is extremely low.
Right.
And you'd be surprised at how many people think that they don't have to file a tax return, and they actually do.
I mean, if the elderly person that has very low income and goes to the tax preparer and says, this is my income, this is that, and they say, you don't have a tax liability, you don't need to file a return, they're okay. They're okay. But to think that you don't have, if you're relying upon you have all these deductions to reduce your income and therefore you don't have to return. Like example, the gambler. He's got all these gambling losses and he thinks he doesn't have to file a return even though he's got 1099 showing $100,000 of gambling income. And he says, well, yeah, but I lost $110,000 so I don't have to file a return. They're going to file a return for him based upon the $100,000 of 1099s, and then the burden's going to be on him. He needs to file a return. Just because if at the end of the day you actually have no liability, then it's true you wouldn't have had to file the return, but the onus is on you to prove that. So you got to watch it.
General rule, file.
File,
yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so
and if you're confused, file.
What's a CDP hearing? We hear about that.
CDP hearing is a collection due process hearing. It's your right to have an appellate officer or higher levels of review to a decision on filing a lien or levying, which is seizing property from you for unpaid taxes.
And how we use it for is this. If you get, let's say you get assessed your taxes. You filed those returns that haven't been filed and they finally assess the taxes. You're going to get 2-3 bills and then you're going to get a final notice that's going to be sent to you by certified mail. What's the number on it? 504?
Well, the 504 is the fake notice. It's the warning notice before you get the bad one that triggers the CDP
And the bad notice is the certified letter, and it gives you 30 days to file for a CDP hearing. We always like that remedy, but you have to file it within the 30 days because now you have an appeals officer to negotiate with to get a collection alternative. You can apply for an offer in compromise. You can apply for an installment plan. You can apply for what we call currently not collectible, which is what? Making them to...
They leave you alone for 24 months, understanding that you can't afford to pay right now, but might be able to in the future.
You know, so the CDP is a very good remedy because it gets you out of the automated system where you have to call and deal with the person that you can't see or speak to on the phone, whereas on the you can't create a rapport with them. Whereas the appellate officer, there's a relationship that evolves because there's a back and forth in communication. So that's a good one. And then, what kind of installment plans are available?
There's many. There's 6-year ones, there's ability to pay ones, and there's whatever you can afford to pay until the statute of limitations runs out.
So here's the point. Now go back to this. It's not, we said there's two things. Unfiled returns and you haven't paid the money. Simple solutions, we get the returns filed. How do we get paying the money? We do an offer in compromise. If you don't qualify for that, we get you on a payment plan based upon what you can afford. Believe it or not, the IRS is not difficult to deal with when you deal with them with knowledge of what the processes are. You don't want to do it by yourself, but you don't want to ignore them. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.